what sets America apart, is that America is loved around the world because it allows every person on earth to say, why not me? Especially when they decide to come here to be Americans. So I think that it's the personal development of the realization that, and there was a point where Ed said, why not me? I said, why not me? Everybody here, nobody came by and touched Ed, and the Queen didn't like put the little sword on his shoulder, even though she probably should. It's people as individuals, we decide to do it. So it's about the confidence to say, I'm a part of this, why not me? To realize that narrow casting is appropriate. You talked about the niche. Find your niche. What is it that interests you? Maybe it's cars, maybe it's NASCAR, maybe it's art history, maybe it's food, and you're a conservative. Finding the niche, believing and trusting in yourself. You see the personalities, like every State of the Union has a personality, every blog has a personality. You find and then your audience, the mountain comes to you. You find out who your audience is. I know from my audience when I'll post something about, let's say, like Melissa Gilbert working at her Broadway play with a broken back. I got so many emails from people saying, why do we care? So I thought, okay, so easy go it on the Hollywood crap, mister. But I'll still look, I live in Hollywood. Most of my friends are actors. I'm having more friends now across the country who aren't. Thank you very much. But you find out what your audience wants. You don't have to always pander to them, but you know what? You'll create a family,
yes,
and it'll grow from there. So it's the confidence, trusting yourself and your own interest. What we like about politicians: don't lie to people, be honest about who you are, and you'll be able to own the message and own your blog.
I have one more question, and the NAACP Breitbart controversy has been a hot topic here. I don't want to talk about that necessarily, but what I want to ask you both is, obviously, you're both sent a lot of stuff through the email, either videos or, hey, I've got a hot tip on a story. What kind of process do you have to go through to look through some of this stuff and say, geez, this is newsworthy, this is junk, and this, how do you vet through all of that?
I think there's different ways of. I think you go through different processes depending on what it is that you're being sent. I think the first thing is it interesting enough that people are going to be talking about it, and actually I kind of thought that the Melissa Gilbert thing was kind of interesting. The Melissa Gilbert thing that you were talking. I actually thought that was kind of interesting. But
my judge is if it interests me.
Right. Yes.
Because people are at my blog because people find that they also happen to be interested in the things. It's not because it interests me that it matters to them. You find a common thread with people.
Right.
So my first instinct is, if it interests me, it'll likely interest other people.
Then I think after that you have to talk about doing your due diligence, checking the references to make sure that you're getting the entire story, making sure that the people that you're hearing from are credible, and you get a feel of it.
Making sure too that you can, when you talk about the provenance of something,
yes,
where it's come from,
yes,
and if you can link to that, or credit it, or show people where something's coming from. If you put something up and you're not sure, and then you do it that way, say, look, this interests me, I'm not sure what this is, or what will end up happening. I'm more inclined to do that than Hot Air is, but I think you should see it, because it's interesting, and let people come to their own conclusions. I mean, clearly we found on the right, nobody's telling anybody else what to think, but it is, I think, making sure people get pointed in the directions of where something might be moving.
Right.
Is that your theory at Hot Air as well?
I would say, yeah. I mean, I think that gets back to the editorial judgment that you have to develop, because, again, you're your own publisher, and you're your own editor, and
your audience wants, you've got to build not just a credibility with what might happen from the outside, but with your own audience. If they know what they're going to get when they look to Hot Air or TammyBruce.com. And because I know the Melissa Gilbert thing's going to interest somebody. And so you trust in that, and then I'm going to look, it's like, who's reporting it? Do I want to link to News of the World, or do I want to link to TMZ? Do I want to link to Hot Air? Who am I linking to make my point? And is that an association I want? And so those are kinds of the choices that you make as well when it comes to sources.
Fantastic. I've got a question from the chat room for you, Tammy. Obviously a fan here. First, a quoted question, then the actual question. The first one, have we finally gotten to Lee Atwater's Big Tent? The question is, what has changed on both the left and right since you wrote The Death of Right and Wrong?
Well, unfortunately, The Death of Right and Wrong and The New Thought Police are still relevant, both of which I wrote, The New Thought Police in 2001 and Death of Right and Wrong in 2003. I think that when it comes to the big tent, there's a realization that we don't have the luxury anymore to deal with some of the social issues. And I'm not saying we're not going to deal with them. But what's important now, it's like if the house is on fire, you're going to suddenly stop worrying of whether or not you hung the picture correctly. And the details of what makes the house wonderful. You're going to get the fire out. Then we can duke it out on some of these issues in which we disagree. But we need to foundationally save the nation first. The benefit of that is Americans have found out we do have a common thread. And that is loving this nation and being American first. That's one of the, I think, more important things that's transpired. When it comes to the death of right and wrong, if anything's changed, I think people are more aware of moral relativism. This shift from Obama has made it more imperative, but it clearly, we see it as an issue. It was the recent story of kindergarten being told about this is sexualization of children.
Yes.
You've got Kevin Jennings as these safe schools are. I've written about him extensively in The Death of Right and Wrong and the sexualization of children. This is, no matter who you are, it certainly is not a gay agenda. It is not an American agenda. These things we can and are standing together and saying enough is enough. So we've made some progress. The lessons we're learning now about what we have in common, we now have to work. It's like having a baby. This movement's the baby, and you don't leave the baby. You have another 21 years of making sure the baby grows up properly.
Yeah, I would say that you're going to always have these tensions. These are things. Prioritization is a tension. It's a tension in politics. You have organizations who do good work there, but they focus on particular issues, and those organizations want to have a seat at the table, and they should. Yes. They should. I mean, I don't think you need to declare a truce. And I like Mitch Daniels. I think Mitch Daniels has been a tremendous conservative in Indiana, and I don't mean to pick on him. I don't think you need to declare a truce on life issues. But what you can say is, look, there's not a lot that we're going to do with life issues in the next couple of years. It's really not the highest thing that's up on the thing. So we need to stay firm on those issues. But what we really need to be talking about is the fiscal issues, the economic issues.
I've got to say, though, that those issues fit in the same envelope.
Yes, I agree with that, too.
This is the mistake. That if you're pro-life and you're worried about the gay Gestapo and the gay leftist agenda, as I am, when we make government smaller and people have to turn to their local community and we're not on an entitlement system, family becomes important again, houses of worship become important, and local reliance. That means we're going to have much more personal responsibility. It goes in the same envelope. It doesn't. These are not two separate arguments.
Correct.
Right.
And I think for those groups that are getting real nervous about talk of what Mitch Daniels is saying, the better argument would be, look, all these things that what made Ronald Reagan have his landslide in '84 was every American realizing the conservative ideal makes everyone's lives better, especially if you want to be independent and live the life as you see fit.
Well, we're coming up on a hard break. We may have grassroots, but we do have satellite connections back for the news. So real quick, best way to reach you guys, we've got Hey Tammy Bruce.
At Twitter, I'm Hey Tammy Bruce, and then, of course, TammyBruce.com.
And then Ed?
At Ed Morrissey, 2 R's, 2 S's, and also at hotair.com.